Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, 2018 playoff by Tony Petitti, his latest scheme. All right, here we go. We can't settle on the 16-team playoff because one conference commissioner won't allow it. As many of you know, there's a big push to go to 16 teams, and there's a combination of ways of getting there. Currently, we have a 12-team playoff, and the move to 16 works on a lot of levels. First of all, it allows you to have 8 home games, which I think is terrific. We saw the games at people's home fields were monstrously successful as far as ticket sales and all that, and it was very popular. So there's probably going to be more of that, especially go to 16 teams. It also gets rid of 4 buys, and it brings in a ton more money for the college football playoff per team. And every team needs money now because they're paying the players, the $20.5 million, the extra scholarships, all that stuff. And it appears there is consolidation around one plan, and it's not what Tony wants. So I believe what he's done is he's thrown a curveball into this at the last minute, and it is getting last minute because a decision has to be made by December 1st. And once this season gets rolling, all anybody's going to be thinking about are the actual football games. So now is the time for Tony to either get with the program or do what he's doing now, which is this huge curveball. And I'll show you what the 28-team playoff stuff's about. And then we'll talk about what I think we're going to wind up with, probably with Tony kicking and screaming all the way there. And this is pretty much everywhere, talking about the college football playoff expansion proposal of 28 teams by Tony Petitti. And it talks about how Petitti now, he supports one of 3 models, the 16, and I'll show you the 16 that he wants, and then a 24 and 28. And I'll show you what that bracket looks like in a minute, and we'll look at last year's teams. That way you kind of get a feel for it. And what this boils down to, it's actually pretty simple to understand. He wants 7 guaranteed spots for the Big Ten, 7 for the SEC, 5 for the Big 12, 5 for the ACC. That'd get you to 24. Then you'd have 2 group of 6, and you'd have 2 at large, one of which would obviously be Notre Dame. And that would get you to the 28 teams. Now, this is what this bracket looks like with 28 teams in it. It almost looks like the basketball bracket. Somebody put this together on X. As you can see, you'd have 4 buys. With last year, it would have been Oregon, Penn State, Georgia, and Texas. And then you can see all these games that you would have, and you'd actually have 2 rounds that would be at home. So you can see there'd be a lot of 5-loss teams in here from last season, and it basically looks like a basketball bracket. Now, I don't think this thing's going to have any legs. I really don't. Again, I think this is a curveball because I told you folks as we've been covering this, Tony Petitti's under tremendous pressure from the other 3 power conference commissioners. All the conferences have agreed or are in favor of the 5+11 16-team playoff, which would be the 5 conference champions and 11 at-large bids. Tony hates this. He wants the 4-4-2-2-1, and that's this puppy right here on the right. 4 automatics for the SEC, Big Ten, then 2 for the Big 12, 2 for the ACC, 1 group of 6, and then 3 at large. Everybody else wants 5+11. You can see all 3 conferences are in favor of this. The Big Ten is the only one that's not. The Big Ten is the only one that wants the 4-4-2-2-1. Now, why Tony Petitti is so opposed to 5+11, I don't really get. He says that he doesn't trust the committee. I understand that. Nobody trusts the committee, but it's not like the Big Ten wouldn't have years where they would get a lot of people in. And here's the thing about the 5+11. Everybody has a chance from day one. Everybody starts on the same starting line. If you go in and you do 4-4-2-2-1, you have perpetually, forever, put the Big 12 and the ACC, for at least as long as this lasts, into little brother position. And they hate it. It's demoralizing and it's embarrassing, and they don't want to be they'd rather get less teams in than to be humiliated right from day one. I get that. As an athlete myself, I couldn't stand that. So originally when the 4-4-2-2-1 came out, I gave it plenty of open-minded interest. We'll put it that way. And I thought, well, take a look at this. And so did Greg Sankey. But when he heard back from the Big 12 and the ACC that they hated it, it's kind of hard not to listen. And even though the Big 10 and SEC have total power, They agreed in a memorandum of understanding that they would take input from the Big 12 and the ACC, and they would listen to them. And if you do listen to them, you can see it's terrible for them. It's going to demote them in the worst way possible. And both the commissioners, Commissioner Phillips and YORMACK, hate it. And they've come out openly and said, we want no part of the 44221. So if you agree to listen to somebody and then you ignore them, you're not keeping the spirit of the understanding that you had with them. You've lied to them.
Liar!
Doesn't mean you have to do what they say, but when you've got 3 against 1, that doesn't work. And Petitti's feeling a ton of pressure. So he's thrown this curveball in there to take the pressure off of him for the 5+11. And he's going, well, let's just do 28 teams then. And here was his quote. He says, it's not just lip service. He said, if people have ideas and formats they want to consider, they'll find us ready to work quickly to get answers back. It doesn't mean it'll be an easy hurdle, but we'll do the work quickly when ideas come. There's no pride of authorship here. If there's something better that solves it, we'll embrace it. Well, Tony, there is one. And all 3 commissioners and all 3 conferences are in favor of it. It's the 5+11. Now, Tony has done a great job for the Big Ten. I don't want to just sit here and throw crap on him because he's done a fine job for the Big Ten. He got a great TV rights deal. It ends in 2030, whereas the SEC's ends in 2033. So he's going to be able to cut an even better deal and have even more of an advantage, more money coming in for his team. So I give him a ton of credit for that. That was smart. But this is a 6-year deal they're talking about, and you want to go to 28 teams for 6 years, or this 44221?
Boy, that escalated quickly.
It's crazy. First of all, no matter what they decide, 6 years is insane. Do you know in 2030, when the Big Ten's contract's up with Fox Sports, they're going to cut a new deal. And guess what's going to happen? The ACC is going to get gutted. And here's why. In 2030, the ACC teams that want out can pay $75 million to the conference and get out and go to another conference. The perfect time to do that's 2030. So, I mean, it just lines up beautifully. And Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia, Miami, all these types of teams, they want out of the ACC something awful.
Get me out of here! Here, just eat that! Leave us alone!
And the first opportunity they get to join the Big Ten or the SEC, they're going to do it. And my suggestion is there'll be 4 teams that leave the ACC. 2 will go to the Big Ten, 2 will go to the SEC. I don't know 100% who's going to go where yet, but it's going to happen. So why would you sign a 6-year playoff deal when you know the conferences are going to change dramatically? If you stick with 5+11 for only 2 years, you can go ahead and give a test to it, do a little test drive, and after 2 years, if you hate it, Tony, then you can fight for something else because you've got 50% of the say. But to sit here and want to do a 6-year 28 team is the... Folks, it's a curveball. He doesn't want to do that. He's just doing it to try to get all the pressure off of him because everybody's pushing the 5+11. Now we're going to talk about why he doesn't want the 5+11. It's going to sound like it makes sense, but it makes no sense. Here's why. The Big Ten plays a 9-conference game schedule, okay? And the SEC plays an 8-conference schedule. Now, everybody in the SEC plays another Power 4 team. For example, LSU's playing Clemson. Alabama's playing FSU. Tennessee's playing Syracuse, et cetera, on down the line. Everybody does that. Not everybody in the Big Ten plays a 10th game, but some of them do if they choose to, like Ohio State's playing Texas. But not all of them do, and a lot of them are canceling, like Nebraska canceled their game with us, Tennessee.
What the hell is even that?
Because they were like, hey, we just want 9 conference games and that's it. We'll play 3 Little Sisters of the Poor, which is fine. Okay. Well, he wants the SEC to go to 9 conference games. He doesn't think it's fair and that the Big Ten has a tougher schedule than the SEC. That sounds technically okay until you actually look at strength of schedule. And I've pulled this up and shown it to you, and I'm going to continue to do so because facts are facts. Now, last year, SEC played 8 conference games plus another Power 4, and the Big Ten played their 9 conference games, then some of them played Power 4 as well. let's look at strength of schedule on December 1st, which is when all decisions are made as far as the college football playoff based on the first 12 games. And let's look at strength of schedule. And before we start, this is team rankings. This is not ESPN. I'm not being a homer for the SEC. I went to team rankings.
Back off me, man. Back off.
Yeah, so back off, Big Ten folks. I know what you're going to do. Oh, it's ESPN. No, it's not. Trying to be fair. I'm trying to be fair here. Here is strength of schedule. As you can see, and I've shown you this before, only Ohio State had a top 10 strength of schedule from the Big Ten. Every other team is an SEC team, starting with Georgia all the way down until you get to Kentucky at number 12. There's not a single ACC, Big 12, or Big 10 team in the top 12 strength of schedule under team rankings except for Ohio State. Then on 13th, you get Louisville, then you get Michigan and USC, okay? Now, think that through for a second. If the SEC has an advantage and they have an easier schedule, why do all strength of schedule show them with such a huge disparity? And why in the world would SEC coaches agree to go to a 9th SEC game, plus they're going to play another Power 4, when they know it's already lopsided one way versus the other? And I'll show you exactly what the strength of schedule average is for the SEC and the Big Ten. Right there it is. The Terminator knows the SEC's average strength of schedule is 10.18. The typical team in the SEC, the Big Ten's 37.6. How do I know that? Because I printed the internet.
We don't need to print the internet.
I went through and I added all up the numbers, and then I divided by the number of teams in the conference. It's real fancy math. And again, 10.18 versus 37.6. Now, why in the world would the SEC ever agree to strengthen their schedule when obviously the Big Ten has the easier schedule? This is not my opinion. These are stats. Numbers don't lie. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think. I wish it was the exact opposite. I wish the SEC was at 37.6 and the Big Ten was at 10th. That way, I'd be pushing like crap. I'd want to go to 10 games because that's really the way it probably should be if you want to even it up. And that would get us a lot more games. I don't like playing Little Sisters of the Poor and the Fort Worth Fighting Possums. I don't want to play those. They're no fun. The game's over after the first half. I want to play big-time teams. But the strength of schedule is what it is. So you're never, ever going to get the athletic directors and the head coaches who will lose their job to strengthen their schedule in the SEC when they already know they have the toughest strength of schedule. They're not going to do it. So Tony, Regina, tell him.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Quit trying to make fetch happen, Tony, because it ain't going to happen. Damn. Anyway, Big Ten folks, I'm sorry that I've got to be so blunt about this, but Tony's starting to tick me off. And I like Tony. He's done a great job for the Big Ten. I have been very clear that I think the top of the Big Ten has caught up with the SEC. And that's not easy for me to say when I watched 15 years of domination by Alabama and Georgia and LSU and all these teams in the SEC winning the national title and, just kicking butt. But NIL and Tony's TV rights deal has helped the Big Ten a lot. And now the top part of those conferences are about even. Now the bottom are not. And that's why the strength of schedule is so different. There's a lot of teams in the Big Ten that aren't that good at the bottom, whereas the SEC is pretty strong at the bottom. When Vanderbilt's typically your worst team, and nobody wants any part of Vanderbilt with Diego Pavia in there, and that happens from time to time. I watched Vanderbilt win 9 games a couple of times when James Franklin was there. So anyway, that's what's going on. And what he needs to do is accept the 5 plus 11, 11 at large. Everybody starts from the same starting line and just let it play out that way for 2 years. 2 years, not 6. And then at the end of those 24 months, you can say, hey, this is working out great. Everybody's getting more money from the college football playoff because there's 6 more ball games, 8 of which are at home, which is huge for the host cities. Having those home playoff games is tens of millions of dollars for the home city. And it's great for the economy. And every school gets money in all 4 Power 4 conferences, including the group of 6. So he's under tremendous pressure because he's going to cost teams millions of dollars if he sticks at 12 teams. And everybody knows it, and everybody needs money. So I think he'll eventually give in, but this is In no way do I think he really wants to do this. I think this is a negotiating ploy to take the pressure off of him and to try to change the subject because he's getting killed over the 5+11. I don't understand why he's so against this. It makes no sense to me at all. The Big Ten will get a ton of teams in the 5+11. So it just, Tony, you got to get with the program, man. You just need to.
Snap out of it.
You're not hurting the Big Ten by going with 5+11, but you are hurting the Big 12 and the ACC if you do the 4-4-2-2-1. You are crushing them. And I don't want to crush those two conferences. I could not be more against that. I think they have every right to survive and to thrive. Anyway, I get emotional about this because I don't like this nonsense. Anyway, if you like this content, just hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, boom, boom. Hit that button right there. It won't cost you a dime. Help you get my videos. And right over here is the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk J.
This is not good. Worlds are colliding. George is getting upset.